I think it's insulting that you are trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press.
Okay, so we gotta talk about White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, who's going viral for her clash with an Associated Press reporter that MAGA is celebrating as if she just owned this woke journalist. But I have a little bit of a different take. First, let's run over how people are presenting this exchange. The popular Republican account Media Lies tweeted the clip and said, Karoline Leavitt just demolished the AP to their face. Right-wing YouTuber Benny Johnson shared the clip and said, 911, there's been a murder. Fire emoji. Meanwhile, Sean Hannity's Fox News Chiron describes it as Karoline Leavitt schooling the AP reporter. Now, I'll roll the actual clip for you, and you can see if you think this accurately describes what happened.
When President Trump last addressed the BRT when he was on the campaign trail, his big push was on tax cuts. He's going there today as he's proposing tax hikes in the form of tariffs.
Not true.
And I'm curious
he's not doing
why
that.
He's prioritizing that over the tax cuts.
He's actually not implementing tax hikes. Tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries that, again, have been ripping us off. Tariffs are a tax cut for the American people, and the president is a staunch advocate of tax cuts. As you know, he campaigned on no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security benefits. He is committed to all three of those things, and he expects Congress to pass them later this year.
I'm sorry, have you ever paid a tariff? Because I have.
They
don't get charged on foreign companies, they get charged on the importers.
And ultimately, when we have fair and balanced trade, which the American people have not seen in decades, as I said at the beginning, revenues will stay here, wages will go up, and our country will be made wealthy again. And I think it's insulting that you are trying to test my knowledge of economics and the decisions that this president has made. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press.
So I do not think she just owned this reporter. Now, to be clear, I don't think the reporter came off great. He sounded kind of obnoxious and snarky in the way he phrased his question. But Karoline Leavitt just said multiple things that are objectively untrue and economically incorrect, then had the audacity to complain, how dare you question my knowledge of economics? Clearly, Karoline, someone needed to. And it's the press's job to test you and scrutinize the things you guys are saying. So don't act like a snowflake. How dare you question my understanding of economics? Come on. And on the substance of what she said, she just claimed that tariffs are a tax cut for the American people. That is objectively a factually untrue statement. Tariffs are new taxes imposed on imports, a large portion of the cost which gets passed on to consumers via higher prices. So the tax incidence, who it's really borne by, is partly foreign companies, but also partly American consumers. You don't have to take my word for this, guys. Conservative economists would almost uniformly agree with the statement I just made. So would right-leaning economic groups, and even many otherwise MAGA-supporting Republicans. Former legislative director for President Trump, Mark Short, tweeted, "The idea that tariffs are a tax cut is nonsense. Tariffs are essentially a tax on American consumers and businesses, plain and simple. Importers pay them up front, and those costs get passed down to you. This is Econ 101. He's exactly right, and that's why I find it so annoying that she was like, how dare you test my knowledge of economics, when clearly her knowledge of economics is somewhat suspect. Now, you can argue for the tariffs and say, well, they are taxes and they will cost Americans, but we'll use that revenue to cut other taxes, or it's worth it because it will protect American jobs. And I don't really agree with those viewpoints, but we could at least have a legit debate about them. But you can't just gaslight us and tell us that imposing new taxes is a tax cut on Americans, when we all know that's not true. Now, yes, she's technically right that they are imposed on imports. So technically they're paid by importers, so American businesses, not actually foreign businesses, but the economic incidence of them, who actually absorbs the cost, is a mix between foreign companies, who obviously face fewer purchases for their products and sometimes have to eat part of the cost of the tariff, and American consumers, who it gets passed along to in the form of higher prices. So when we talk about who a tax is on, we typically don't talk only about who it's technically levied upon, but also who bears it in practice. So technically, sales tax in many states is paid by the store, not the customer. But because it just gets added by the store to your costs when you check out with your items, we all talk about it as, oh, it's a tax on consumers. But technically, it's a tax on retail stores and real retailers. See how this is kind of a dumb semantic game to play that obfuscates what's really happening? Anyway, I just think the Trump administration is steering things in a poor direction when it comes to this trade war. You can see the stock market really responding poorly to it, and just all the instability and uncertainty of changing their minds every few days. Oh, then we're going to do this new tariff and then this one in response to that. Oh, actually, I'm suspending that one for a month. The chaos of it all is harmful. Businesses rely on some degree of stability and predictability to make investments, and they really don't respond well or prosper when there's instability and chaos in the economic environment. And honestly, that's what I'm picking up from a lot of the things that are going on with the Trump administration's trade war. But what do you guys think? Do you think Caroline Levitt owned this woke reporter? That's not my take on it, but I do want to hear from you guys in the comments.